Networks, part of the AI security team, and I'm the PM for AI security for users. And I'm really excited to share with you guys today a full-on session about our AI security capability for users, why they're important, what they look like in the Kado management application, and also answer some of your questions today. So let's go ahead and get started. And before we actually dive into the product and the use cases and what we're trying to do here, I think it's important to mention our agenda here, or what we are trying to do as Kado when we are offering AI security solutions for our customers. And basically our vision, our agenda here is to be the security partner for our customers' AI transformation. We want to enable secure usage of AI applications because, as everybody knows, we can't hide from this major wave of AI that has crashed upon our world, right? It's impacting everywhere, every application, every website, every service that we're using, improving productivity and helping us make our lives a lot better, but it also poses some risks. So in order to enable the productivity of our employees, of thousands of organizations across the world, we must enable organizations to adopt AI, but we want to help them do it securely and safely without being concerned of the many security, compliance, and regulation risks that are associated with this kind of new threat landscape. So this is our agenda, and let's keep it in mind when we're talking about the product and the offering that we're going to discuss today. So when we're talking about AI security, there are a couple of challenges that come to mind, challenges or maybe even use cases. Some of those are very obvious, and probably you've heard about a lot of those. The obvious ones are things like shadow AI, so proliferation of unsanctioned AI tools across end users and across production workloads. Risks such as data security, data leakage, uploading sensitive data to unsanctioned applications, every IT person's nightmare, right? So shadow AI, data security, but also the governance world is keeping up, compliance is keeping up. We have a compliance framework such as the EU AI Act, which attempts to regulate the AI usage in a safe and compliant way. And there are also the compliance and regulations regarding sensitive data that apply here as well. Things like PCI DSS and HIPAA are also relevant for AI application usage. And another key use case would be a brand new attack surface covering things like AI attacks and vulnerabilities, jailbreaks, prompt injections, MCP supply chain attacks. So all of the things that we know and love from the cybersecurity world are kind of sped up and given steroids when we're talking about AI applications and AI security. So if I didn't convince you until now that there are a lot of challenges and security risks with the AI wave that we're experiencing, here are just a couple of articles covering from the media shadow AI and how many workers are using unapproved AI tools at work, sharing private data with them where they shouldn't. Samsung workers, for example, who made a major error by using ChatGPT and therefore leaked their source code by uploading, sensitive data into a model that wasn't proprietary and was trained on the data. And also this AI wave is basically helping the attackers and adversaries as well. So if in a couple of years ago, attackers would need to do a lot of manual work and a lot of manual processes to find vulnerabilities and to create exploits for them in order to find a new zero-day or their new attack vector, today things are getting a lot easier for them as well. It's productivity for both ends. So basically, we are seeing things like Copilot and Grok that are being abused as malware C2 proxies and AI tools that are used for exploit creation and even to create whole attack chains. So all of that is posing a really big risk on our customers. And what we want to do in this case is just enable them to use the AI tools to increase the productivity and keep the business moving forward, but still keep themselves safe and secure. Now, when we're talking about the AI landscape, basically we divide it into two different categories or two different pillars. One would be the AI that you use. So this is classic cases like employees that use third-party AI apps, integrating third-party AI apps with their internal data sets, or things like coding agents or AI agents that you use, embedded AI within SaaS applications like Salesforce Einstein or Figma Make. We can think of hundreds of examples just off the top of our head because it's so common. So this is the AI you use, the AI that our employees, our workers are using for the day-to-day productivity, coding, and so on and so forth. The second half would be AI you build. So this is going to be custom apps or custom AI applications, LLM models that our organizations are developing, AI agents that they're building. And this is a bit of a different, very similar, but a bit of a different threat, and we have a bit of a different ways to tackle that. And specifically today, we're going to focus on the AI for end users, or AI that you're using. And this is going to be the focal point for today's session. We're going to cover AI security for homegrown apps at a further time. So when we're talking about securing AI interactions for end users, we can think about it in three main pillars. We need to discover, we need to analyze, and we need to enforce policies across third-party AI interactions and enforce actions on them. Okay, so discover, analyze, and enforce, that's what we're going to focus on also today in our session and in the demo. So now that we're focusing on AI interactions for end users, it's important to keep in mind the persona that we're talking to. So it could be an IT person or a security person, a CISO, a CIO, and usually what they care about is, as we said, discover, analyze, and enforce. But if we're really listening to what they're saying which AI applications are used in my organization and for what purposes. So, just a basic visibility and observability requirement. But in addition to that, what kind of data flows through each of those AI applications? Is it sensitive data? Is it use that I want to allow or don't want to allow? The very first step here would begin with visibility, with understanding what's going on, discovery and analysis, before we can even enforce and take action. So in this case, that's what our CEO is asking. She wants to know which applications are used and what kind of data flows through them. And of course, we have a solution for that. And one of the ways in which we do it is by allowing to see all of the applications that were used in the organization, in the environment, including the AI interactions that were prevalent on them. So things like, okay, this is ChatGPT. Is this the enterprise version or the free version? Is the risk of this application high, medium, or low? What's the category that it's flagged as? Is this just conversational AI, or maybe it's a coding agent? So all of that are things that we can help our CIO by letting her know about all of this information, about what kind of apps are used, and soon also which data flows through each application, meaning I'll show it to you shortly. And here's just one quick example. We have your Microsoft Copilot. And as you can see, this Microsoft Copilot is the free version, and therefore the AI risk level of it is deemed as high because it is trained on data. And if we're uploading sensitive data, company assets into there, not a good idea to do it when the model trains on this data and it's a potential data leak and sensitive data loss. So that is one example. In addition, we have the same user and she wants to get a higher level overview. Okay, so we said what kind of data flows through each application. So she's getting a really great high-level picture of, do we have any violations that are viewed within those AI applications to the policies that I've set? What's the violation rate? How many users are using them? How many AI interactions? And, how widely adopted is AI within my organization user base? It's not a simple question to answer. And a lot of what we're doing today is providing this visibility to the security practitioners. And let's just show one more quick example before we dive into the demo video, and that would be where do we see the violations? In which AI application am I seeing violations of my organizational policies? So in that case, we could see that ChatGPT, a lot of its usage is containing violations. And here I just double click just to show you one quick example. And that is a session of a user that used ChatGPT. And we can even see the user prompt where the user has uploaded their client credit card number into ChatGPT. And therefore, our AI detection suite has labeled this to be an PII violation, and therefore, according to the user policy, redacted this PII before it was sent to the LLM model. Okay, so this is just one quick end-to-end flow from the what application am I using into which data, which violations, which issues do I have in my AI usage in the organization. So before we dive into the demo video, I wanted to kind of highlight where this information is coming from. How does this work? So basically what we're doing with AI security for end users is that we're allowing to intercept the AI interactions in a couple of different ways. The ways in which we're going to focus today are the browser plugin, which is a plugin that you can install using an MDM. It's relevant for Chromium browsers at the moment. And this helps to protect AI interactions within the browser. In addition, we also have the Cato Cloud, super relevant for everybody listening to this session, which basically means that if the traffic traverses through Cato, if the traffic is routed to Cato, goes to the Cato Cloud, this is going to be an interception method for the AI interactions, and therefore very, very easy to anybody who is already using Cato to use this as the, let's say, on-ramping method to the AI security suite. Lastly, we also have the out-of-band API. And this one is a visibility-only solution, meaning it helps us to monitor and understand the usage. It doesn't allow us active enforcement like blocking or redacting sensitive data. But it's a great way to get additional visibility. And this one is done via API configuration, super simple and relevant for Copilot, ChatGPT, and Anthropic's Claude. So this is how we unwrap. And then the question is, what do we do on those AI interactions? And this could be, again, the visibility to understand what's the usage, to understand what kind of data flows through them, to understand and discover new AI applications that you weren't aware that are used in the organization. But it could also be enforcing things like compliance, regulation, and making sure that sensitive data doesn't go where it doesn't need to go. So this is basically a high level of how do we get visibility into those AI interactions and what we do about them. Now I think it would be a great time to look at a demo. And basically what we're doing here is showing the AI security capabilities as they are in CMA in the Cato management application. This is probably brand new to some of the folks listening, so enjoy. So we have a brand new AI security tab. And as we said, this is going to be, first of all, a dashboard showing us the violations that we've seen in our environment. Again, based on the policies that we have configured, and we're going to dive into those policies in a second. And we can also see the topic's popularity, meaning we're seeing a lot of AI interactions, and we have a detection engine that's very sophisticated and looks at all of those AI interactions to analyze them. And part of its analysis is to understand what's the topic and the intent of the user using this AI application. So it could be business management, finance, legal, computing questions like coding assistance and things like that. So all of that will help a security person understand why are people using that application and what they're doing with it. In addition, we also have, of course, the top interaction flow, which we discussed before. And this cool graph basically shows you the correlation between an AI app and the type of usage that we're seeing within it, whether it's a safe usage or whether we are seeing some violation. Very important for the visibility, discovery, and analysis use case that we spoke about moments ago. And again, if we're talking about visibility, every security practitioner will want to know what kind of AI applications are used within my organization. That's what we're looking at right now, how common they are, how many AI users do they have, and how many interactions we have observed of them. And now we're getting into the user interaction policy. And this is basically the place where we're going to configure enforcement policies. That's the hammer, let's say, where we actually do the enforcement and not only get visibility. Now, in this page and in those policies, we have a couple of different important criteria to focus on. First one would be the interception type. And this is what I mentioned briefly earlier. How are we getting visibility into the AI interactions? Is it using the network like Cato Cloud, what we're seeing in this very first policy? Or is this using the browser plugin, which can be installed and can be a different way to on-ramp AI security traffic for us to inspect and redact, block, monitor, act upon? So this is the meaning of interception type that we're seeing here. And of course, like any other policy in Cato, we can select the source, the relevant applications, and the relevant engine profile, which basically means what is the AI security engine looking for when it's looking at those AI interactions and what it's going to do with it. Is it looking for PII? Is it looking for code sharing, for secrets like passwords and hashes that are shared with the LLM? Basically, what do I need to match on when I look on those AI interactions? And then we also have the Session Explorer, which is basically kind of similar to our events page. And it shows a detailed list of all of the AI interactions in the organization, who was the user involved in them. And also, if you have the right RBAC permissions and you're able to see sensitive AI content, you could also reveal the AI session itself and take a look at the prompt as it was shared between the user and the LLM. So what the user asked, what the LLM shared as a response. And this is, of course, audited both for security and for auditing purposes. Amazing. So this was kind of an overview of the visibility, discovery, and analysis portions of our AI security for end users. And now I want to focus a bit upon the enforcement part. And for that, we have to go back to our CIO and ask her, what does she want to do enforcement-wise? And what she would probably ask is, I want to enable the teams to adopt AI safely. How do I do it? What access do I allow? What data do I allow to be shared with AI applications? And what do I limit? And in which apps? Basically, what's my AI interaction policy? And in order to do that, of course, we allowed her to do exactly all of that from CMA. And as we said, this is going to be configured in the AI interactions policy screen, where we would define, in this case, a new rule. This one is going to be a browser plugin rule, but in a second, we're going to see how this is done from the Cato Cloud as well. Very, very similar, almost identical configuration and feature support. And in this rule, we're just going to define an enforcement, which is to anonymize PII that is being sent to ChatGPT, which is in this case an unsanctioned AI application, and we want to make sure no sensitive data gets to it. So what the user is doing is just selecting the right application, all of the different plans of ChatGPT in this case, not only the free, but also the enterprise version, just to double check that no sensitive data goes nowhere. Select the right engine profile, which again is what the AI security engine is looking for within this interaction, in this case, PII, so emails, SSMs, and of course, this is customizable and you could choose whatever kind of PII to match and whatever kinds are not of interest to you out of the pre-configured profiles that we have, and what the action is going to be, which is in this case to anonymize the PII and block it. Now that we have published this policy, we're going to take a look at what this looks like on the end user side. So we have our user, they're going to use ChatGPT, and as part of their prompt, they have sensitive data. They have an email address and they have a phone number. And once they want to send this prompt into ChatGPT, what's going to happen? I don't know if you caught it because it was very quick. We could see the PII being redacted really, really quickly from the user prompt so that it doesn't appear as the full PII, but appears as redacted values. And therefore, what the LLM gets are the redacted values. The LLM doesn't get the PII because we have redacted it before it got to it. And you could even see it in the response from the LLM. It shared its response with the redacted information because it has no idea what was the email and the phone number that the user was intending to add to their prompt. And in case you want to see what this looks like over at CMA, so the actual AI interaction that we just did and how it was captured, you could look for it in the Session Explorer and get to see exactly the prompt that we saw right now with ChatGPT. In addition, if we want to go and just quickly show the engine profiles, which is again where we would define what's considered content that we want to monitor, that we want to block or redact, we'd go into that section and just look into the PII profile, which is the profile we have added in the previous rule that matched just a second ago. And in here, you could see that the different data types that we have set are exactly the ones that matched via ChatGPT. And of course, you could edit and remove some of those if they are not of interest to you. So to sum up, we had a user trying to upload sensitive data to GPT, and our AI security policy was able to redact and block this interaction to make sure that no sensitive data is leaked and the user is doing what they intend to do with this application. So this is a great example for enforcement using the browser plugin, but I now want to show you how it works when you're doing it via the Cato Cloud traffic. So again, this is going to look very, very similar, but you just have to trust me that this is a case where the traffic is coming from the Cato Cloud and not from a browser plugin. You could see that the user now, after configuring a policy whose interception type was network or Cato Cloud, they are going into ChatGPT and sharing something that could be considered PII, their name and their address. on the first attempt, the LLM doesn't do anything. It shares back the name and the address because no policy was applied in this case. But now the user is gonna connect to the Cato client and start routing its traffic through Cato. So basically, a second ago, this was without Cato, without AI security. And now, once we're connected and authenticated, we're going to do just that. Again, share the same prompt. And again, it was really quick, but I guess you could see it. The PII was redacted and no sensitive data was shared with ChatGPT, just like we saw a second ago. So this is by having those AI security capabilities as part of our security stack, as part of our single context, and super, super relevant for everybody whose traffic traverses through Cato, many of our customers. All right. Before we wrap up for today, I just want to remind us of a few key use cases that we can kind of keep in our back pocket to think about what we want to do when we want to secure AI interactions and when we want to enable safe AI usage. In this case, we have a user trying to summarize an email, but the email contains PII. So what we can do is we can redact the PII data before it gets to the LLM. We have another case where the user is doing something that is not uploading sensitive data, but it's talking about something that is a violation of HR topic policy. So saying things like, what's the average salary of the IT department, or what's the salary of my boss? Again, something that we want to audit on and most probably would also want to block on, depending on the organization's policy. And another case is, should I sign this contract? And we have a lot of cases where, for example, a user is interviewing a job candidate and is asking the LLM, hey, this is my candidate, this is their details, do I need to hire them? And a lot of companies are against that by policy because you shouldn't allow an LLM to make HR-related decisions. It's just not right. It's against policy. And also in this case, we could block and audit this kind of behavior. And the additional use cases here, we're going to focus on in later sessions, but that's it for that.